If you could say one perk that has only gone downhill from the beginning, it would likely be Speed Cola. A perk that was a must-have back in World at War, a useful perk in Black Ops 1 and 2, becoming a meh perk in Black Ops 3, and later a waste of a perk slot, if it wasn't for the fact that the perk limit was removed in Cold War. Speed Cola is most definitely a perk that new players will over-glorify. So I just want to state, I do not hate Speed Cola. It's just a perk that has grown worse and worse over time. I still like this perk, and I do buy it even if I don't really need it. For those who don't know, Speed Cola is a perk that lets you reload your weapons faster. Something that was really useful in the older Zombies game, as back in the day most people relied on a strategy called camping, where they would sit at the end of the hallway and shoot the zombies that would come towards the player, which was peak gaming back in the early 2010s. Speed Cola was introduced on Verrückt along with Double Tap, Juggernaut and Quick Revive, and like all of these, Speed Cola did a basic thing, allowing you to reload your weapons faster, which was very important, as some of these older COD games had LMGs and wonder weapons that took a long time to reload. And LMGs was usually what people would use, especially since camping was the meta. It's also worth mentioning that with Speed Cola you would also be able to rebuild barriers faster, but this feature was not present in Black Ops 2 for some reason. Also, rebuilding barriers in the older Call of Duty games is something that everyone would do. After Black Ops 3, zombies would just completely destroy the barriers within seconds. Back in the day, LMGs was the way to go. A lot of ammo, could do a good amount of damage, and easy to use. So pretty much everyone used LMGs back in the day, and camped on the catwalk on the Reese. And since people were camping, aka just standing still in one location, Speed Cola peaked, as reloading just a second faster could actually be the difference between life and death. In Black Ops 1 already, Speed Cola would start to go more downhill. It was still a useful perk, but now it was more depending on which weapon you would use. Camping also started to fall out of the meta. The strategy called training, which was starting to become the new meta, where people would run around in circles somewhere on the map, and after hoarding up all the zombies that could spawn at the time, they would shoot all the zombies behind them, knowing that no zombies could appear in front of the player due to the fact that all the zombies in the current wave had already spawned in. But why is this important for the downfall of Speed Cola? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Speed Cola made you reload your guns faster, which was useful for most heavy weapons or LMGs. But since people were training, aka running around in circles, you obviously don't want to run with a heavy weapon, out of fear that the zombies might get some hits on you, making the odds of you getting a red screen much higher. This risk could be nullified by running with a weapon with a good mobility rate, like the ray gun, an SMG, Python, or any other high mobility rated guns. And most of these weapons doesn't spend ages on reloading, with some exceptions, meaning you could replace your fourth perk with something more useful like Stamina or PhD. Luckily for Speed Cola, the perk variety in Black Ops 1 still wasn't as huge as it is nowadays, so although Speed Cola wasn't a top 2 priority anymore, it was still a great perk. Just not as useful as the World at War version. It also didn't help that some weapons when pack-punched would actually have an attachment called Fast Mags, allowing you to already reload your weapons faster without the need of Speed Cola. And on the note of Black Ops 1, you could also use the Hacker faster with Speed Cola if you're playing on Moon, so that's a cool feature. In Black Ops 2, the perk variety got reduced. Perks like Deadshot, PhD were practically removed from the game, meaning Speed Cola had a chance to be in the spotlight. It also helped that 2 out of the 4 perks introduced in Black Ops 2 was absolute garbage. That and the fact that some maps would have less perks, like Nuketown only having the 4 original perks, with Double Tap being replaced with Double Tap 2.0. You would think that because of a slightly reduced perk variety, Speed Cola would become more popular. And you're half correct. In Black Ops 2, it was possible to pack punch your gun multiple times. Doing so, you could get random amounts of attachments on your guns. And one of these attachments was the Fast Mags. And if you had Fast Mags already on your gun, you could save your perk slots for something else. It also didn't help that in Black Ops 2, more guns would get the Fast Mags attachment, unlike Black Ops 1, where only a few guns could have the attachment. Good players would choose perks like Juggernaut, Quick Revive, Double Tap 2.0, and then for most perk either Speed Cola or Stamina or Electric Cherry or Vulturade if you were playing Mob of the Dead or Buried. But if you were playing Buried, you could also get all the perks on the map, so ultimately it didn't really matter. It's also possible to combine Speed Cola and the fast mags attachment, making the reload time very fast. But ultimately, it's not really worth it at that point. 3000 points just for a slightly faster reload time with fast mags wasn't really worth it. And at this point, camping was pretty much a dead strategy, with some notable exceptions. There are a couple of reasons why Speed Cola fell out of the meta. The more advanced the game became, the more options players would have for customizing their own guns. This was a feature introduced back in Black Ops 3. Even though you could kinda customize your guns in Black Ops 2, it was more random on what attachments you got on your pack-punched gun. But in Black Ops 3 and onward, you could practically customize any gun, even before you pack-punched it. Almost all the guns you could customize could have the attachment Fast Mags, which allow you to reload your guns faster, obviously. And you already reload very fast in Black Ops 3 anyway, and if all your guns had fast mags, you could save the 4th perk slot for something else. If you were playing solo, you could swap Speed Cola with something like Widow's Wine or Stamina, as Speed Cola simply wasn't all too useful when you could already reload your guns fast enough with the fast mags attachment. It also doesn't help that camping is gone today. Sure, you can camp today, but sooner or later you will be overrun eventually, forcing you to resort to training instead. And Speed Cola was a really useful perk for LMGs, as those took a longer time to reload, but LMGs was mostly just useful on lower rounds or for camping, as they had a lot of ammo, but thanks to Black Ops 3 weapon customization and double pack-a-punch, which practically makes every gun into a wonder weapon, people would use the RK5 or Kuda, as those weapons have a good mobility rate, which means these lighter weapons allow the player to move faster, which is something you want when you're training. And players then would slap on Deadwire or Blast Furnace on their gun, and there you go. Now we have a gun that can deal infinite damage with fast mags, high mobility rate, making Speed Cola almost an useless perk. But you might be wondering, is fast mags really better than Speed Cola? Well, no, it's not. Both fast mags and Speed Cola can be used on most and almost on every weapon. Speed Cola takes up a perk slot, while fast mags don't. And fast mags after Black Ops 2 is free, while Speed Cola still costs 3000 points. Because of the price and perk limit, looking at it objectively, you can see which one has the most downsides compared to its upsides. Even though players would choose to use Speed Cola and use the fast mags attachment, it's really unnecessary. Black Ops 4 Speed Cola was removed, but not really. You couldn't buy Speed Cola from any of the perk machines, but you could get it simply by having all the perks you can have. Why? Which lets you reload your weapons faster as soon as you drink your 4th perk. You need to collect all your 4 perks. I also want to just remind you that Speed Cola is not a bad perk. It has simply just gotten worse over time. This is still a good perk. It may have given the impression that I hate Speed Cola. I don't. It has just had a bad evolution over the years. I just think it's sad that it has gotten worse and worse over each COD game. If you were to ask me how I would buff Speed Cola, I would make the reloading much faster than it already is, and give it an extra ability, even though I think this ability would be better for a perk like Mule Kick, and this is to allow you to swap your weapons faster and allow you to aim sight down faster, even though that last ability might have been better for something like Deadshot. Although my knowledge on Cold War is limited, it seems that Speed Cola is back to being a perk you can buy again directly from the vending machine, unlike Black Ops 4, and Speed Cola is sadly not at all useful. And rebuilding barriers is not something people seem to do in the newer COD games. I especially don't. But in terms of price, the price system is a bit different. In Cold War, the prices increase depending on the order you buy each perk. First perk you will buy is the cheapest, and every perk after that will be more and more expensive. Which honestly is an okay system, but I much prefer having individual prices. But I'm not gonna sound like a boomer. In Cold War, perks can be upgraded. There are 5 total levels, and I will tell you what you can gain from each level. At level 1, Speed Cola will allow you to switch your weapons faster, which is the ability that I thought of. At level 2, field upgrades recharge 20% faster. At level 3, it will increase reload speed bonus to 30%. At level 4, you will repair barricades faster and the mystery box will settle much faster. And at level 5, you will fire and reload while sprinting at full speed. So overall, Cold War Speed Cola is a good perk. But then again, most of the perks in this game is either great or mediocre at best. But just looking from this clip, you can tell that Speed Cola is barely noticeable. I didn't even realize I had Speed Cola. And there you go. The history, the downfall of Speed Cola. And although Speed Cola may not be as good as it was, I hope this doesn't make you think Speed Cola is a horrible perk. I love Speed Cola and I will still buy it. It's just a simple upgrade that has just gotten more obsolete through time. If I were to buff this perk, as I said, I would make the reloading much faster. But here it is, the downfall of Speed Cola. That's all for now and take care.